The first film is tonight a movie called Daydream Nation, which is this movie we shot in Vancouver, Canada. It's Kat Dennings. It's her. She plays a 17-year-old girl who moves to high school senior, who moves to this very small town, kind of like Vail, and she's miserable because she's moved from a big town, and she immediately decides the only person who she relates to is her English teacher, who she decides to seduce. And he doesn't really go along, but at a certain point she becomes so convincing that he decides, all right, and in the process he falls madly in love with her, and it's this great triangle between her and me and then her high school love, and the two of them basically battling with the fact that I'm in the picture as well. It's an interesting, it's very much a dark, sardonic, equally funny version of Fast Times at Ridgemont High in a way.
Very cool. So,
and the other one is Red Dog. Red Dog is a true story that takes place in Western Australia, in one of the most remote regions on Earth, in a place that has never been on film before in history, which is kind of amazing. This mining territory, where we went into this mine and shot this true story about this dog who they called the Pilbara Wanderer. This dog sort of hitchhiked his way around, not just in Western Australia, but all of Australia, and then supposedly went as far as took a ship up into Japan, and he was just this true eccentric animal, and this great love affair that happened between the man who he adopted, which was me, and then the town that he was in. Really very, very cool 70s kind of movie.
How did you get attached to both of these films?
Daydream was falling apart, actually, and it was Christmas Eve, and oddly they called me and said, look, there's this movie that there was another actor attached and there was a problem, and so we don't know what to say, but if they don't get their money basically today, if someone doesn't, it's like, it's Christmas Eve, what are you talking about? And they said, look, the movie's going to fall apart unless you come on board, or unless someone comes on board, and I read it, partly, even though it was Christmas Eve, because of Kat Dennings. I really felt like this woman is like a remarkable talent, and it was excellent, and so I was like, you know what, I want to go do this, and it was a fast and furious shoot, to say the least. I shot my entire part in 5 days, and I think the whole movie was shot in like 18 days. Red Dog is a little bit of a different film. It's got, it was a tough, big production in a place that was, the infrastructure had, there was no infrastructure there, there's no water there, much less human beings, so it's a very hard, forbidding place to shoot. And similar thing, I think they were looking for someone who had the ability to bring a little bit of international flavor to the cast. The cast was, the real story took place in this mining territory, and there were people from all over the world who'd come there to mine, and so in the search for this guy, so luckily I have a huge relationship with a dog myself in my life, and so when I read it I was like, this is instantly something I would pay to go do that movie. It was such a beautiful script.
Did you watch any other Australian documentaries or anything I'm
a bit of a cinephile in terms of particularly French film, but also Australian film, because I've lived in Australia a couple times. This is actually the third time. I think it's part of the reason why they came to me as well. I've spent quite a bit of time working in Australia. I've done a couple movies there and a television series there when I was young, and I really love the place. I feel like I have a great respect for it, and the land and the people, and it's a magical, tough land and a tough people in a great way.
I love the film Walkabout.
Yeah, Walkabout's amazing. I just saw it the other day. And this film, also, Red Dog, is like a family version of one of the great raw pieces of cinema of all time, which is this story of miners in a similar area who go on this kangaroo hunt from the 1970s. I'm blocking the name of that movie. What's it called? Awaken Fright, which was one of the only films that's played 2 times at the Cannes Film Festival, once in 1971, and then it was lost for 20 years, and then it played again in 2008, and both times was honored because it's quite a magnificent film, quite a raw, vicious film, but we made the family-friendly version of it.
What kind of research did you do for the Kat Dennings project?
There wasn't a lot of research to do on that movie. I mean, it was, first of all, I was sort of thrown into it. It was really kind of last minute. Research is actually probably my favorite part of this job, but something like that, I mean, how do you research being a high school student except just go? Particularly, he wasn't a very good high school student or high school teacher either. But more, it's just a movie about love. It's a movie about falling in love with the wrong person, and the reckless abandon of which some people can throw themselves into situations that are not good for them. So there wasn't exactly a research to do. It was more, and a lot of it was just Kat and I hanging out. We started going to malls together the day we got to Vancouver and wandering around and just playing. It was fun.
Did you study any other teacher-student sex scandals before this?
Weirdly enough, I went to high school in Gig Harbor, Washington, and Gig Harbor has the women's prison, which is where this woman, Mary Letourneau, who was sort of famously the woman the high school's teacher who had a crazy affair with her 13-year-old student. The thing that most people don't know about that story is that they are now married with many children. So I kind of researched stories that didn't end tragically, that more ended with love, that love, I think, appears in forms that are mysterious and absolutely from out of the blue. So that's what I was trying to key into in that one.
Do you think with Mary Kay Letourneau it was love at the end of that? And
like I say, they're still together. They're not only together, they live together and have many children, and they supposedly they are wildly in love, those two. Yeah. So
Very cool. Do you think there's a double standard though, since you were a male teacher in this film?
I think there isn't. I mean, I think that no matter what, anything to do with pedophilia is dead wrong, but also I think that society can be a bit harsh in its judgment when particularly the age difference is not, in this case the age difference is too big, but love is love, and Kat Dennings is a wildly attractive, powerful sexual being, to say the least. So she would be hard for any man to deny, and she happens to not actually be 17. So that's how I'll get in trouble.
Cool. When can people see these films? Are they going to be hitting?
Daydream comes out in Canada on April 15th, and in America on May 6th. It's a small release in New York and in Los Angeles, and hopefully if it does well, it'll expand from there. I know it's gotten some very good reviews. And Red Dog is now coming out in August in Australia, and then hopefully it will be formatted to roll across the rest of the world at that point over the next couple months. So hopefully sometime probably in spring of next year in the United States, I hope.
Cool. Are you going to get to go skiing out here in Vail?
I did. That's why I have this glowing red raccoon tan today. I woke up this morning and went up on the hill, and it's like, I've never skied here before. I've never been here before, and this place is easily one of the great ski hills I've ever seen.
Yeah, I went up today for the first time.
Amazing, right?
I've been to Sundance for the past 8 years, and I've never gone up there.
Yeah,
so
same thing.
When I came out here, I knew I had to go up on the mountain.
It's cool.
So it was fun. I got to spend a couple hours there. Cool. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Very cool.